question?
Sure.
Are we allowed a letter right there from Dutch Harbor and the White House? And are you permitted to see a copy of the letter that was sent to the committee so we could actually review it and commented it? So
Okay.
okay. Also, another question. So what Mr. Brennan is saying is that the bulkhead, let's just call it the whole bulkhead, in accordance with the 1972 ordinance, that is supposed to be resident-only parking?
That's what he's saying.
Okay, is that how it's been enforced over the last 20 years? Because I was never, okay. It was my understanding, I know that the police department did enforce it, and we agreed with the enforcement, was that along the outholes, there were signs for resident-only parking.
Yes.
Okay, because it was my
And that's
understanding.
the one that's been enforced as far as residents' stickers go.
Okay, because it was my understanding in conversations last year when there were issues with overnight parking, that it was anyone could park there and it could be overnight. So that sounds contrary to what this ordinance says, so I don't know, do we have any idea? No, I'll get it all for you later, that's. Oh,
Thanks.
so I guess just to figure out what the actual ordinance was, because that was never our understanding. And again, we've only been there for a year and a half, so I don't know what's been going on before that. In terms of, our private property, when we took over the facility, along the waterfront area were all derelict boats. And as far as we knew, they were there for some time. So there was never, when we took over, there was no parking along there because there were derelict boats
Along
there.
which side?
Excuse me?
Which side?
Along the waterfront, I
Waterfront.
think, where he's saying there should be parking on our property. It was all derelict boats, and it was just.
Between the pump station and the second shack?
No, from the,
Can you show us on the map? I see it just right here.
He's talking from the shed.
no, I'm talking from, I guess, from here to here. If this is our property, let's just say, this was lined with derelict boats. And there was no public access. And up here there were derelicts also, and down here there were derelicts too. So and what we believe was the mission for the boatyard was we did clean up the property, and we put the picnic tables in prior to the shack ever coming into existence. Because one of the things we felt was important was that there should be public access for the community, whether they were our customers or not. So that's what we did, clean up the derelict boats. We put benches here. I think we had about 4 here, 2 or 4 here. And then we had a couple back in our other section here for the community to come use the benches. This is well before the shack ever came.
So you wanted to open your private property? Isn't that your private property?
That is our private property.
Up to the public?
Well, it wasn't official, but yeah. we-
Can I make a comment there? We were
Hold
just
on.
about-
Hold on.
we did clean the derelicts. We put benches here and here for customers or other people to, to use it.
So you don't limit it to just your customers, either with the shack or...
Well, again,
your
this
boat
preceded the shack.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, people who walk down the street and come sit down at the table and have some drink. No one, again, that was the whole idea that we had, was that it was important for public access, and we thought it was important for the town to have public access down there. And that's what we did by cleaning the place up and putting the benches prior to the shack coming into existence.
Let me clear something up. I haven't lived there for a long time. There were boats in here. Clearly, there was a couple of boats. They weren't lined all the way around because, first of all, you got to have the boats off the thing by the
Right.
bus anyway. So they never went anywhere. There was no more than 2 or 3 boats down
That's the
there.
area that it went to.
Huh?
That's the
Okay.
area that it went to.
But what I said was, so that's down here. What I said was parking was always up in here. They parked 3 or 4 or 5 cars, 6 cars, whatever it was, they parked in here. I'm just saying that was past practice. And as far as, boarding off with sawhorses, that happened this year. I'm not.
Well, that happened when we first took over. We first took over again prior to the shack. So along this building here, it's a working boatyard. and these are all garage doors, bay doors that open up.
Yeah.
And we find that we actually need access in and out, and parking cars along here.
Somebody's
It's
out
not,
there.
it's not allowed us, and again, it's our private property.
It's private property, and we understand what you're saying.
But we're happy, you know, again, we'd love to sit there and talking to some other neighbors in the area. We were told, when we spoke to them last year, they thought the parking situation was actually better last summer than it had been in the past. If there is a way to work out down here, you know, a more orderly way to park cars and have cars parked there, we welcome it. And we'd be happy to work with you. We've been happy to work with, whether it's your committee or any committee in town, to try and make this whole area more viable
But it
and
does,
accessible.
we're told by neighbors who don't have anything against us that evidently the parking is much more organized, there's much less craziness down there. Having that big open space creates such a wonderful feeling for community members who are utilizing the shack and sitting at a bench and looking at the water. It's almost like a park-like feeling when we don't have our boat equipment moving things. But if we have an emergency and we have to haul a boat out and the guy's out sailing for 2 days, what am I going to do if his car's sitting there? We cannot allow nature parking in our working part of the yard. It would be crazy.
That actually brings up a good point. For people who will go out on, because there is no overnight parking on any public street in Jamestown, correct?
Right.
And that's very difficult to enforce, as we know, we hear just in different neighborhoods. So that's a can of worms issue. We've got Beavertail where, Beavertail Road that we're dealing with, neighborhood conflict. But that being said, what a person who's going out for an overnight or multiple night stay, what do they do as far as their?
They park in front of our house a lot of times, and then they park on the dock.
We've called the police 1 or 2 times on overnight cars. One time for 3 weeks last year, parked on there against that.
We've had complaints about them parking along Narragansett Avenue. They've been there for a couple of days, and we run into the same problem at the churches. The churches come because they come up and they park, and, you know, when they're going for...
Oh, the parking in the church parking lot?
Huh?
The park in the church?
No, up Narragansett Avenue, which now, when the church is going out, people don't have the places to park. But we have, yes, we have run into that. But one of the things that Brandon's pointing out is the way the ordinance is reading right now. So we need to change that.
You change the ordinance, I mean, that's pretty.
That we
Dated,
have to
yeah.
do to determine, but then we have to determine how we want to do it.
What is actually barred from the people? Where do you draw the line?
Just add
Our property.
If you
Right
come
here?
down and
Does
see
it go
it.
this way?
No.
Is
it shown on
that?
The picture's right here, this is where the bar. We've gotten major compliments from everybody in the neighborhood except 1 or 2, saying that this has created a beautiful space, and people come down and enjoy it.
But it's also, that's our only working area for our entire property.
If we had to also
Yeah, and I
the
understand
railway.
what Bucky's saying, that, and Lisa well knows that having associated parking for your business
Well, park
is a
everybody
good
backing up
planning
to their
principle,
house. It's fine.
but de facto, it's difficult to adhere to that principle because we're living in an environment where there's limited parking opportunities. There's more businesses than there are parking opportunities. East Ferry doesn't have sufficient parking for people who have the private moorings out there, so people just park all over the place. So there's overflow. And so how we manage that overflow is kind of what we're trying to grapple with here.
I think we have a tremendously large area that I think we can do something
Better organized, yeah.
than what we have, including like this property. So I think
And
that
in
we can
fact,
certainly look at that.
find sand adhering paint. But obviously, ideally, you want to be able to mark them off.
Yeah,
And you can't do it paint, you can do it with some other type of
Sure, you could get
cones
a
or...
railroad sign or something. and
Yeah,
put it
totally.
on
Yeah.
the
We
first
have to
stop.
be able to use that bulkhead in the winter to move boats.
At least we move.
Actually, you know what you can do?
You've got
Actually,
cranes, you've got all kinds
let
of.
me ask you a question. I don't know how it would work in winter. If you get like yellow or orange stakes,
Mhm.
and you put a stake in and a stake here,
Right,
and put a yellow line,
right.
Almost like a yellow tape.
yeah, instead of having a parking line, I mean, I've done that in other properties of mine, where we just put in a stake and a stake,
Mhm.
and you went off with a line.
Right.